Hello chums, I recently uploaded a video on how to easily earn credits on Gran Turismo 7 using the custom race feature. This time around, I'll show you how to earn similar amounts without actually doing the racing yourself. I hope you have some rubber bands handy. Since this method uses the custom race feature, it means that you need to have achieved gold times in the circuit experience for the corresponding track, in this case Daytona. I have a video guide to it on my channel. If you haven't completed this, race payouts will be lower. Your collector level also makes a difference to potential earnings, though not as much difference as the circuit experience. It's also worth mentioning that this is very much an exploit. If for some reason you object to those, you're more than welcome to stop watching this video. Now, we need two cars, your car and the opponent car. The best car for you to use is the 1991 Honda Beat with the K20C engine swap. The Beat occasionally shows up in the used car dealership. If you don't have this car, this method won't be as effective, but the Honda S660 without the engine swap is a viable alternative. For your Honda Beat, we need several upgrades, which I shall list now. On the Sports tab, you need Weight Reduction Stage 1 and Comfort Hard Tyres. On the Club Sports tab, you need Bore Up, High Lift Camshaft, the Close Ratio Transmission Low, Weight Loss Stage 2, Power Restrictor and Ballast. On the Semi Racing tab, you need the Racing Crankshaft, Custom ECU, High RPM Turbo, Custom LSD, Weight Loss Stage 3. I also fitted the Height Adjustable Suspension. On the Racing tab, you need Stroke Up, Engine Balance Tuning, Polished Ports, Anti-Lag, Intercooler, Air Filter, Racing Silencer, Racing Manifold, Racing Clutch, Custom Transmission and Racing Soft Tyres. In the Extreme tab, you need the Nitrous System. And if you have reached level 50, you need the Titanium Conrods and the High Lift Camshaft S from the Ultimate tab. By far the most important part of this is that you do not fit the wide body. This method relies on wall riding, and the wide body will make the Honda significantly slower at wall riding. I also haven't fitted any aero parts. Reducing downforce will increase top speed, which in this case makes the method slightly faster. Now that the car is upgraded, we need to create two setups. The first is the setup you'll actually be using for the race itself. We need Comfort Hard Tyres on the front and ideally Racing Soft Tyres on the rear. This will make the car more stable. For suspension, I typically set the car as low as I can and increase natural frequency. This isn't necessary, nor is upgrading the suspension at all. However, if the car doesn't lean as much, it could potentially be more stable. Differential settings are completely irrelevant, however the custom LSD does reduce the performance point rating of the car. If you have any aero parts installed, set the downforce values to the minimum. The most important part of this setup is the transmission. With this method, your car will be topping out at just over 210 miles per hour or 340 kilometers per hour, so the gear ratios need to allow that. I set the top speed in 5th gear to 390 and then set 3rd and 4th gear very close to 5th. That way the car will stay in its power band more. Lastly, we need to adjust the nitrous strength. For this method, I set it to 14 so that it will last for the race distance. Now, you need to make your PP smaller. Create a second settings sheet. Fit Comfort Hard Tyres all around, remove any suspension upgrades that you have, keep the LSD. Limit the ECU to 70%, add 200 kilos of ballast and limit the power restrictor to 70% as well. Fit the Close Ratio Low Transmission, remove the turbo, intercooler and exhaust upgrades as well as any brake or clutch upgrades. Keep the anti-lag system set to strong because this reduces the performance point rating for some reason. If everything has gone to plan, your Honda should now have less than 300 performance points, which is extremely important. If it's still just above 300 performance points, you can try adding a rear wing and max out the rear downforce, which usually reduces the performance point rating. Now, we need an opponent car. The best choice by far is the Dodge Tomahawk X, the stupid Batmobile with 1,000,000 horsepower, available for 1 million credits from Brand Central, though this method can still be done less efficiently with whatever the fastest car in your garage currently is. The only thing we need to buy for the Tomahawk is a customizable transmission. Head into the garage and then head into the Tomahawk's settings menu. We have two choices for the transmission. You can either slide each gear ratio all the way to the right, starting with 1st and ending with 7th, which will limit the car's top speed to about 30 miles per hour or 50 kilometers per hour. Doing this, you can't possibly lose, but you will lap the opponent several times, potentially causing a crash, which will then prevent the method from working. I typically adjust 7th gear to 250 kilometers per hour, like so. By doing this, you make sure that the Tomahawks are slower than your car, but not by much. This reduces the number of times that you will overtake them. Now, we need to set up a custom race. Make sure you're in the Dodge Tomahawk and head to Daytona. Select the Tri-Oval. Set the number of laps to 30. A 30-lap race will take roughly 25 minutes. We want 20 cars on the grid, and your starting position needs to be last, for obvious reasons. Set a rolling start with a 50-meter interval so opponents are spaced apart. If you currently use miles per hour as your measurement of speed, this may glitch out to 15 meters, so you can go into the options menu and switch to kilometers per hour for your measurement, and for whatever reason you can then set the 50-meter interval correctly. You also need to max out the nitrous boost multiplier so that we can use it for much longer. For rival selection, we need select from garage, and difficulty must be professional. If you head into the selection, all of the cars should be your current Tomahawk. Save the settings and exit back out. Now, change to the Honda Beat, and make sure you have the sub 300 performance point setup applied to the car. If we now head back into the custom race and select the race settings we just saved, you should now have a massively bloated payout to reflect your massively shrunken peepee. If your potential rewards are less than what you're seeing here, you either haven't completed circuit experience in all gold, you're not collector level 50, or your car isn't below 300 performance points. If all has gone to plan, we can start the race. Now that the race is loaded up, you are free to change the setup on your car without affecting the potential winnings. Apply the full 500 plus horsepower race setup. Now, this is where we need to do a bit of faffing about. Firstly, we need automatic gears. It also goes without saying, turn off controller vibration. Then, to prevent wearing out your analog sticks by using the rubber bands, we need to alter some controller settings. Open the button configuration. You can alter this to suit your own preferences, but I have steering set to the motion sensor, and I have the nitrous mapped to the R1 button, and the accelerator is, of all things, triangle. With that done, start the race. Once the race is started, line your car up against the wall and pause the game. We now need to set the controller up to drive the car for us. You can use a CD case, in this case an old PlayStation 4 copy of Ark, to prop up the left side of the controller. With motion controls, this will slightly steer the car to the right and keep the Honda against the right-hand wall. Now we need a rubber band to hold down the R1 button for the nitrous, and something to push down the triangle button for full throttle. I have used 2 rubber bands and some blue tack to make sure. Now, unpause, go away, and tidy your room or something. If you're wondering why the race is set to 30 laps, it's because if you add more than 30 laps, you get less money for each lap you add. 30 laps is the maximum we can have before you get diminishing returns. In 25 minutes, you should hopefully come back to a rather large sum of money. It's not quite as lucrative as the hateful Tokyo race, but if I have to overtake that blue NSX one more time, I'm going to murder somebody. If you intend on repeating this, make sure to hit retry and head into the settings menu on your car before you start the next race. This will trigger a glitch that resets the mileage from the previous race, meaning you never have to change the oil. So, that was a tutorial on how to make lots of money in Gran Turismo whilst doing almost nothing. Any questions, feel free to comment below. If you haven't got a Honda Beat or a K20 engine, try my other method with the Suzuki Jimny. You'll have to do it yourself, but it's more lucrative and you can buy the car straight from Brand Central. Thank you very much for watching. If this helped, I'd appreciate your subscription. Take care of yourself, and ta-ra.